Hello everyone. For this tutoring video, I'd like to discuss the mechanics of pulleys, including how they can be organized into block and tackle systems to reduce the force needed to lift up an object. The most simplest pulley looks like this, with a mass tied to a string, cable, or similar object, and part of the string resting on top of a solid surface. When you pull down on the mass, you also pull on the rope that is attached to. And similarly, when you pull on the rope on the end that is not attached to the mass, the end that is attached to the mass moves backward. However, the mechanical motion of this kind of system is not 100% efficient because the rope sliding against the surface generates friction. According to the kinetic friction formula, F sub k equals coefficient of kinetic friction times the normal force of the surface. However, most of the time, single rope pulley systems are suspended on top of a wheel in order to reduce friction as much as possible, instead of a big solid object. Like this. To understand how multiple pulley systems work, we must first take a detour to another equation, where the change in energy on a system, formerly called work done, is equal to force times distance times cosine of angle between the two vectors. And a physical principle called the conservation of energy dictates that the work done will always be the same, i.e., the total energy transferred will always be the same. It cannot be created any extra or destroyed. This means that if we hooked up a mass to a second pulley, we notice that the total distance of the rope increases, and so the amount of force you have to pull by to get the same amount of work done decreases. And because they are in the same direction, the force and the displacement of the rope when you pull. The cosine of the angle between these is 0, as there is no horizontal difference between them. And we know from trig that cosine of 0 equals 1. This leads us to also noticing that oftentimes in pulley systems, the ropes have equal length, and so the force will be reduced by an integer amount, i.e. cut in half because of two pulleys and two ropes. It is also provable that 3 pulleys gives you 3 ropes attached to the mass, 4 pulleys give you 4 ropes attached to the mass, and so on. And so based off this pattern, we can determine that the ratio of the output force to the input force is called the mechanical advantage, or MA for short, and is always equal to the number of ropes or number of pulleys attached to the mass. A block and tackle system is simply a more condensed version of a pulley system and may look a little like this. As you can tell, the more wheel parts in the block and tackle system, the more ropes there are, and so the easier it is to lift the weight. Now that I've gone over all of the basic machines that use tension forces to work, I can move on to teaching how the wedge works.